Today is September 25th, 2023. Let's take a look at the market and see how it did for today. Looking at the indexes here, and the strongest performer today was the Dow Jones Transportation, up almost 0.75%. Then followed by the Nasdaq and also the Russell 2000 and SP500. They all up almost 0.5%, 0.4%. But the New York Stock Exchange Composite and the Dow Jones Industrial, it's only down at 0.15, 0.16 area. So those two are the weakest performer for today. Everyone a positive for today. And here looking at the intraday internals, you can see that the up-down volume, a little bit leaning toward the up volume, although early on it was negative at the open, but it came back, and in the mid-afternoon, it was basically just kind of chopping around between positive and negative. And then during the afternoon, the early afternoon, we see it got sold off, and we saw some selling pressure. Then into the close, we saw some up volume came back in. Likewise for the NASDAQ market. Now, looking at the advanced decline, you also see the advancer is trailing the decliner at the open. There were more than 1,700 more declining issue than advancing issue. Then in the lunch hour, the early afternoon, we see it came back up and pretty much chopping around between positive and negative. Then into the close, near the close, we saw a little bit more weakness come in, and then finish off with a negative minus 153. So about 150 or so more declining issue than advancing issue. Likewise for the NASDAQ market, although the NASDAQ is only minus 40. Now the cumulative tick is also pretty negative, except during the lunch hour or the early afternoon. Then into the close, you see that it came down, so it was quite negative. Likewise for the NASDAQ. And we did see a little bit of a squeeze going up into the close here, and that is probably due to the OPEX pinning. Same with the NASDAQ. And you'd be surprised. Go and take a look at the SPY with the after hour. It is actually sitting at 432.49 or 40 something. So they were basically pinning between the 432 and 433, right at the midpoint. So it take out some of the 433 and some of the 432. So keep an eye on that on the pin. You know, a lot of time on these 0 DTE, they close it out right between the midpoint, between two strikes there. And here looking at this sentiment chart here, you see the S&P 500 got a little bounce today. I said earlier, basically it was up 0.4% or 17 points or so. And you see the VIX came down a little bit, but not that much. It's sitting at 16.9. And the put call ratio is still inside of this 0.75 and the one zone here. So not much has changed. I think the market participant are still a little bit more cautious than back here, where it is dipped down below 0.6 area. And here looking at the New York Stock Exchange up-down volume ratio, you see that is a little bit of a positive here, 1.09. So the up volume just kind of etch out the down volume. But the advanced decline, the daily advanced decline, we see a negative here. So we're definitely seeing a little bit of a divergence today, negative divergence between the advanced decline and the S&P 500. So we got 165 more declining issue than advancing issues. And here's the ugliness, is the 52-week high versus 52-week low. You see the number of stock make 52-week low kind of continue to expand, and today it was 249 stock make 52-week low versus only 26 stock make 52-week high. And you can see the number of 52-week low outnumber the 52-week high is down here at 223. So this is expanding, and that is not good, especially during an update. And the cumulative AD line, we're also seeing a little bit of a negative divergence here. You see that negative divergence kind of, this cumulative AD line sloping downward, while the S&P 500 has actually got a little bit of an uptick today. So we're definitely seeing a little bit of a negative divergence. So I wouldn't be surprised that we're going to see a little bit more pullback in the coming day from the S&P 500. And here looking at the NASDAQ market, we see the NASDAQ 100 is also up. It was up 0.8%, 0.48%. I mean, so it's almost 0.5%, up 87 points or so. And the up volume a little bit more, stronger than the down volume, sitting at 1.25. to 1. Daily advance and decline is also negative, is minus 277. So there were 277 more declining stock than advancing stocks. And here again, the new 52-week low versus 52-week high, we see a 387 more stock make 52-week low today than 52-week high. See 430 stock make 52-week low versus 43 stock make the 52-week high. So for the NASDAQ market, this is getting a little bit more negative. And again, on the cumulative AD line for the NASDAQ market, we are seeing it continue to move down while the NASDAQ 100 got an uptick here. So it just continued this negative divergence with a wider and wider gap. Now let's take a look at the ETF. Here is the diamond for the ETF for the Dow Jones Industrial. You can see it's sitting right here at this 30-week moving average here and near this composite point of control. So I'd be expecting that if we get a bounce, we could see a little bit more of a bounce back up here to this maybe somewhere around the 340 level here before we push back down again, because I'm looking for it to eventually come down to somewhere around this 324, 325 area, this area here. So we could see a little bit of a bounce and come back up, to this area here, somewhere around 341 area. So we'll see how this will play out in the coming day. So if we see a bounce, definitely look for a pivot, next pivot high to look for a possibility of shorting it back down. And here's the SPY. It's also got a little bounce back up here. We booked this pivot low here. So basically coming back to back test this brick right here. So we'll see, would it be able to make any more upward move? And if it does, then we'll probably look at this gap. Maybe this gap could be in play, but eventually we're still looking for any kind of pivot high to look for opportunity to short it back down to possibly to this area here between 425 and 420. And here's the QQQ. The QQQ is still waiting to get below this pivot. So right now it's still inside of this balance area here. And there's a gap here. So we could see a possibility of moving up to this gap and maybe tagging this composite point of control here at 364.5 or so. So basically looking for any kind of pivot high, looking for a lower high essentially. And we'll look for that lower high for trade setup to short it back down to this 343, 342 area, this low volume area here. So basically looking at this, this zone here, somewhere around here. So be looking at something like this. Okay, so because we are looking at these, this trend line and this pivot low to get taken out. And here's the Russell 2000 ETF IWM. We see that it came down and filled this gap here today, and it got a little bounce back up. So we could see it possibly come back up to this 179, 180 area to fill this gap before we resume back downward here. I'm still looking for this 170 area to get taken out. Basically come down, take out this 173, this composite point of control, and then move below that, then come down to this edge here somewhere around 170, 171 area. So that's a brief update of today's market performance. If you like this video, be sure to smash the thumbs up to give it a like and help promote this video on YouTube. And if you are new to this channel, click on the subscribe to support this channel. Thank you for watching and stay safe.